Thank you for inviting me to address such an eclectic audience at the Lexus Design Awards. My name is Vinay. I'm a designer, entrepreneur, and an institution builder. I have worked over the last 15 years in various ways to use a high low-tech approach to solving global challenges in the form of creating companies, nonprofits, and research institutes, bridging design, technology, and social impact. So today I would like to share some reflections from my own work where I've transitioned from a conventional product design approach to design of experiences and interactions in digital products, and then eventually ventured into building startups and scaling companies. As a point of departure, I was as keen as one could be as a budding product and interaction designer in the mid-2000s. I co-founded an interesting little design institute in Denmark called the Copenhagen Institute for Interaction Design, where we worked with education, master's projects, EU research, and industry-facing projects. In tandem, we also built up a design consulting practice where I had the wonderful opportunity of creating and working on prestigious projects, including the Nokia N900, which was the first Linux-based smartphone. I worked on design experiences for Lufthansa first-class cabins. I worked on numerous medical devices and traveled the world, literally executing projects in 18 countries and traveled more than 200 days a year, year after year. I must admit, it did pay well and it felt good, and especially to be in demand at a global scale with some of the biggest brand names globally. That includes Intel, Philips, Novo Nordisk, just to name a few. But after 7 years of doing this, I realized that all I was doing was fueling a vicious cycle of consumerism and beautifully designed scheme of mass consumption. This made me question some fundamentals, and that was when I decided to create a non-profit initiative called Frugal Digital along with my wife Priya, where we with our team worked on numerous initiatives that created open source approach to a high technology applied in low resource settings. This was perhaps the most exciting phase where we traveled extensively in India and Southeast Asia, in the Middle East and South Africa, to explore meaningful solutions that could give a holistic design approach and meet high technology in a tinkering ecosystem. One hallmark product that evolved from this process was an inexpensive pulse oximeter, designed by modifying readily available alarm clocks to become a handy diagnostics tool for the ASHA workers. This initial hype factor was like no other. We got curious collaborators from across the globe. This is even a TED talk about this. But what we failed was to scale it. We ran into all sort of business model challenges, and scaling it became harder and harder. The biggest takeaway for me over that whole period was that we as designers are amazing at creating value, but so poor at capturing value. Great ideas don't sell by themselves. There's 100x more work to be done to make a successful product actually reach market, and this complex orchestration of so many stakeholders and professions. I must admit, I even developed an immense amount of respect for a mundane profession like accounting. Design as a profession tends to be an echo chamber with the same rhetoric amplified year after year. So we need to attempt to do something different, to do something to scale design and to actually apply this as an innovation paradigm. So I wanted to try and check if I really could do this myself and actually scale products. This is when I created Leapcraft, which is my latest company, where we design products and solutions to solve one of the biggest challenges globally, and that is the challenge of poor air quality. For the last 7 years, I've been tinkering, experimenting, and scaling on various high technology products. And a recent example of such a product is called the Airbird. It's an air quality sensor that's shaped like a bird, drawing upon the metaphor of a canary in a coal mine. The product is packed with advanced sensors and has a sophisticated AI algorithm that looks for patterns in the air quality in your home. It learns these patterns and nudges you to ventilate your space, changing behavior or developing clean air habits. The product is now sold to customers from everywhere from Alaska to New Zealand. It's an excellent hallmark of collaboration between designers, technologists, architects like the GXN Studio with whom we work, and the Velux Group, who is a world leader in Windows systems and ventilation and clean air. So this global product development, financing, international supply chains, quality assurance, user experience, and how I've seen design matter so much in the entire value chain. But most importantly, it has taught me that the difficult task of realizing these complex products requires interdisciplinary collaborations. I sincerely wish someone had told me this and given me an overview 20 years ago when I was still in design school at NID. To summarize, I want to take an example of a humble parking meter. The parking meter, at least in the Western context, is a mechanical product which is designed as a physical installation on the street. It did not change for decades. It is almost the same. And the only big paradigm shift that actually happened was nearly in the early 2000s, when it became a slightly digital product where you could go and insert a credit card or pay digitally to park your car and pay for it. Right? So the paradigm went from metal and materials to digital experiences. But then what happened? The smartphone came along, and when the smartphone came along, it completely disrupted this existential fixture on urban landscapes in most of Western world. And the smartphone became the simple app that you could actually use to park your car with and pay for it. And now the question becomes, so we went from a physical paradigm to a digital paradigm, and the digital paradigm moved completely virtual. And what next is the big question. So one of the most common things that we imagine that's going to happen is that cars will know how to park themselves. They would know how to locate parking, and they will pay their own tariffs and even optimize and tell you how best to solve your parking issues on a day-to-day basis. So where does the designer play a role in this is a really big question. So we move from metal to silicon and silicon to virtual, and now where next? So this is a paradigm that we have to think very deeply about, because this deeply influences the way we design our education systems for design. This is influencing the way we implement technology. It influences the way we behave as society. And this is where we as designers need to actually deliver high value across the whole spectrum. So I really, to wrap up, would wish that all of you fantastic entries and winners for the Lexus Design Awards really find your path in scalability, in implementation and realization and impact on society. Because designing a product is just tip of the iceberg. You need to go that extra mile to actually take this and bring it to life and deliver real value for people. Thank you so much, and hope to listen for some interesting debates moving forward. Thank you.